Hey, I'm Chris, and today I'm going to show you 5 AI systems you can sell from anywhere between 2K to 10K today. I'm talking real AI systems that automate real business processes and make you real money. And who knows, stack a few of these together and you're no longer just building systems, you're building a full-blown agency. Every one of these systems I'm going to show you is powerful enough on its own, but combined, that's serious revenue potential. Whatever path you end up choosing, I can assure you it's about to be an interesting ride. So stick around and let's get straight into it. But before I get into my top 5 picks of high-ticket AI systems, I want to quickly talk about what makes an automation system a high return on investment. I'm doing this because the AI space is fast evolving by default. Even the 5 systems I'm about to talk about will look and perform very differently in as little as 12 months from now. Businesses are constantly changing, often thanks to AI. Software is constantly evolving and platforms are constantly shifting. This is why I want to help train your mind on how to think about what makes an automation system high ROI. That way, whatever happens, you can always find your way and build automations that actually matter in the real world. To begin with, a high ROI system isn't just about saving time, though that's great as well. What makes an automation a high return on investment is that it generates consistent value with little ongoing input. So generally, high ROI automation either automates processes that create revenue or automates processes that free up time for other revenue generating tasks. So you see, it's all about the money. Let's focus on the core elements. There are 3 key features you must look out for if you're going to build any AI systems that are worth your time and worth your clients' money. Let's begin with the first one. You see, you have 2 challenges as an AI developer trying to build systems that people will pay for. On one hand, automations are intangible by nature. On the other hand, most business owners aren't techie. You see the problem? Let me help you. Since most business owners don't really understand the AI automation world and automations aren't tangible things that you can see with your eyes or touch with your hands, it becomes difficult for these business owners to truly appreciate what you're offering and therefore make you a good offer. So what do you do about that? Well, they may not be able to see your system, but your system should be able to create something real that they can see. In other words, make sure your system is able to produce something tangible, something that your client can see, touch, or interact with. This could be a PDF generator that sends your clients a white paper or quote every time a form is submitted, or it could be a cold email system that automatically replies to inquiries and follows up afterwards with polished emails. But now you might be asking me, Chris, what if my system works just fine without creating a deliverable? And you want my advice? Tweak the system so it does. Clients love visible results. It gives them confidence that they haven't wasted their investment. You've got to play to that emotion, or else when it's time to upsell, you'll struggle. Trust me, upselling becomes needlessly difficult without something concrete to reference. So avoid that mistake at all costs. All right, let's move on to the second feature of a high ROI automation. What do you think are the top 3 pain points for businesses? Businesses are always looking to make more money. Businesses are always looking to save more money. And businesses are always looking to save more time, especially founder time. Now, if there's one rule you want to keep in mind when doing business, whether it's an AI automation or whatever it is, it's this. People pay to end pain, pure and simple. So if your automation is going to be high ticket, it's got to hit 1, 2, or if possible, all 3 of the biggest high stakes pain points that businesses face. A good example of such an automation would be a customer support system. For a SaaS company that's drowning in tickets, an automated customer support system that reduces churn even by 5% is a godsend. Another good example would be a pipeline filler for an agency that has no work to keep its many designers busy. If designers aren't working, that's double the trouble for the business because the business is just losing money and it's also not making any more money. A pipeline filler could fix that leaky hole and even bring in more revenue by helping to generate leads or helping to organize incoming work. So you knock out 2 pain points at once. You help the business save money, but you also help them make money. This takes us to the third key feature of a high ROI system. Whatever you do, there's one thing you want to avoid in the business of AI automation, and that's buyer's remorse. It makes things 1,000 times more difficult when trying to build a long-term relationship. Now, do you want to know the fastest way to create buyer's remorse? Making your buyer wait. It ties back to the first key feature I mentioned. Automations are not visible, and what your client can't see, they cannot trust. But even more to this point, what your clients don't see quickly, they instantly regret. and you don't want that. So how do you solve that? You template your system so that you can scale fast and easy. If your system is so unique that it has to be reinvented every single time, you lose your customers and you'll burn out fast. This is why the best systems are the ones where 80% of the work is reusable and only 20% needs to be tailored to the specific client. Good examples would be CRM templates that you can duplicate across Notion, Asana, ClickUp, Monday.com, any other workspace at all. Another good example would be a creative brief form that builds out a website once your client fills it out. In fact, ideally, you want a system that produces fully automated deliverables from onboarding to output. So with the creative brief form, for instance, you'd hit the jackpot if once a client fills the form, they get a completed website delivered to their inbox in minutes. Of course, it's not easy to pull this off in practice, especially with custom solutions. However, I think it's a great idea to keep that as a target. So the closer you get to that, fully automated deliverables, the more valuable your automation becomes. All right, enough theory, let's get into the good stuff. System number 1. The first system on my list is for people who want to scale fast but can't afford to do more work. Your clients are already surrounded by good content. They just need a system to make it great. And that's where the content improvement system comes in. Basically, what this automation does is scrape YouTube videos from the top voices in your client's niche and then help your client improve on these videos by analyzing the transcript for gaps and generating new content that's 10x better than the competition. Not only that, but this system can also help repurpose the new and improved content into other formats, from social media posts to LinkedIn posts. Your client wouldn't have to lift a finger. To be clear, this isn't just copying, it's taking what's already performing out there, figuring out what's missing, and then creating something that's significantly more helpful or engaging. I mean, the system practically sells itself. Today, content creation is a general game, with everyone playing at different levels. So obviously, the market is there. Plus, it's easy to generate clear deliverables with this system. For instance, as a return on their investment, your client will get a rewritten YouTube script along with a bunch of social media posts that are written by AI but sound exactly like them. Now, the tangibility of the deliverables this system brings is where your superpower is when it comes to pricing. I think the least you should charge for this should be about $2,000, maybe $1,500 if pressed. But I really do believe that if you position yourself well, you can easily get people to pay up to $5,000 for this system. The deliverables are that valuable. One tiny thing I'd add before I move on to the next system is to avoid setting up the system to auto post. On paper, it's a good idea because it saves your client time. However, this is the real world. And even though AI does pretty impressive things, it's still not human, which means that it can say the wrong things that could devastate your client's brand. So you really don't want that. So I'd advise adding a human review step before the posts go live. Maybe that's you offering someone to do this for them, or just letting them know that they'll have to do this before posting. Anyway, now that you've helped a client punch above their weight in content, what's next? You hand them leads who are already searching for what they offer. And that leads us to system 2. I'm pretty excited for this particular system because it's like personalized cold emailing, but on steroids. With Search Intent Lead Scraper, you go from learning about your target to practically reading their minds. If there's any outreach method that literally guarantees conversion, it's this one. But before I even get into what makes this system awesome, as we continue on in our conversation, you're going to notice that high ROI automation systems tend to revolve around outreach. Why is that, you ask? Well, the reason is simple. Outreach systems, when done correctly, are incredibly effective, highly scalable, and bring in real income. That's a triple threat that's hard to beat. So you'll hardly find any discussion about high-value AI systems that don't feature a disproportionate number of outreach automations. But back to the Search Intent Lead Scraper. What is this system about? If you've worked with AI-powered cold email systems, the basic MO is the same. While a cold emailing system will scrape data about your outreach target from their socials, an intent lead scraper scrapes job listings. Why would anyone want to scrape job listings? Well, because job listings contain loads of what I'm calling business tells. In other words, you can tell more about where a business is from the roles it's actively hiring for, more than anything that you can find on their website or blog. Particularly, intent scrapers look out for job listings for positions like sales associate, business development representatives, or account executives. And that's because a company will only be hiring for any of these positions if one or two things is the case. One, they need more leads, or two, they need to close more sales. Now, if they're hiring for any of the roles I mentioned, it means the pain has reached a point where the business is willing to pay to solve it. And that, my friend, is where you come in. Intent lead scrapers are particularly powerful because it takes the cold out of the pitching. You go from a place of guessing that your target might need your product to knowing for certain and with evidence that they actually do. This boosts the quality of your pitching and also increases both the chances of conversion and how much you can charge for your product, whether it's a lead gen service or a sales system. So where do you build this? Of course, you can use make.com, but you can also use any no-code tool. Simply set up a Google Sheet template, define the automation steps, and that's it. You're off and running. Now, you may be asking how much you can sell this for. Honestly, it's up to you, but around $4,000 to $5,000 sounds like a good ballpark number. And it gets better because it's the sort of system you can easily upsell your client on. Stack on a system that takes the lead data generated and adds a layer of deep personalization, and you have a two-in-one system that multiplies your revenue significantly. And speaking of adding a layer of deep personalization, the next system on our list does precisely that. Most people are still cold emailing like we're in 2012, but this system flips that right on its head and delivers crazy results. And the fact that people are sleeping on this right now means that, that could be your edge. Again, now what am I talking about? It's a deep personalization engine. Let me give you an example. Cookie cutter messages with only the recipient's name changed, those are no longer effective. Personalized emails are the only way to get heard in our oversaturated world of business. Of course, some organizations are slower to adapt, but I think most people are already aware of this fact. Where the problem comes is with execution. The amount of time it takes one person, even in an SDR team, to do the staggering amount of research involved in creating such highly personalized emails is tremendous. And how about writing them afterwards? It's a ton of work, and it gets more discouraging because you have to repeat the entire process again with every single new outreach. This is why a deep personalization engine is so powerful. It scrapes publicly available data like emails and LinkedIn profiles, and then uses that data to generate fully personalized cold emails that your client can plug into any cold outreach tool. Now, these emails are going to read like someone actually sat down, did their homework, and then crafted each message by hand. Everything from the subject line to the opener to the pitch to the CTA, super tailored, and most importantly, personalized. And there are so many benefits to this. First off, personalized messages get more replies than generic outreach. Secondly, the potential for scale is huge. The system can literally generate hundreds of leads per day. And then, of course, there's the cost-saving aspect. You get the output of a full SDR team for a fraction of the cost. And speaking of cost, let's get down to the money part of the conversation. Develop this engine, and you can productize it and sell it as a lead gen service for upwards of 2K plus. In fact, the system is quite flexible, which means that you can adapt it for other use cases, whether it's to create industry-specific lead lists, run competitive research, or even build custom newsletters for each client. And this kind of adaptability opens the door to even more powerful systems. Basically, an automated newsletter system turns raw content into polished, personalized newsletters every week without your client having to lift a finger. Clients always love hands-off automations, and that's why this particular system is a cash magnet. So, the automated newsletter production system is pretty much like the YouTube content improvement system I initially talked about, but instead it's for newsletters. Basically, the system scrapes posts from subreddits that are relevant to your client and then picks the high quality, high relevance ones to summarize and polish it into a newsletter. Once a newsletter is ready with subject lines, intros, and summaries, the system feeds it into MailChimp, and then you set the schedule to your client's preference, whether it's weekly, daily, or even hourly. Once everything is set up, that's it. Your client doesn't have to do a single thing, especially if your client is a solopreneur or has a small team. This is massive leverage that will be hard for them to pass up. I mean, systems similar to this one are already getting sold at prices ranging from $1,500 to literally $6,000. It seems crazy, but think about it. How many small businesses are able to produce high quality content at the rate they prefer? Most can't. That's why this system works. It solves this problem, helping your client position themselves as a thought through leader without having them to basically do anything. Plus, the bones of this system are super flexible and adaptable for all kinds of repurposing, whether it's YouTube scripts, blog recaps, or LinkedIn posts. You're basically building a content curation engine that plugs into any medium at all. And that right there is what you call a money maker. All right, so you've helped clients attract leads, convert them, and stay top of mind. But there's still one tension headache that has the potential to bring you lots of ROI if you can create a system that solves it. I'm talking about hiring. Hiring is painful. So an automated hiring system that screens, scores, and schedules interviews automatically is one that clients will pay to have. If you've ever been involved in hiring, you know that it's a nightmarish process with lots of back and forth that end up slowing things down. But an automated hiring system helps clients save time and money by streamlining their hiring process. In fact, The vision here is to turn the hiring process into a fully automated workflow, so your client does almost nothing. Now here's what that could look like. So the system is kick-started when a candidate fills out the form applying for a job. From there, the system automatically reviews the application, allowing a client to decide whether they want to accept or decline that said candidate. Say the client accepts a candidate, the system will automatically move the process onto a trial task. Then, if the candidate performs well, they'd either be onboarded or move to the interview stage. Now, I particularly love this automated hiring system because it's quite simple to build and also very easy to profit from. I mean, you can charge as high as $10,000 for this. And if you want to kick things up a notch and, go even higher, you can throw in some add-ons like ongoing maintenance and management fees, hourly implementation rates, or AI-powered CV filters, which is easy money. The automated hiring system probably has a broad set application of all the systems on our list today, at least when it comes to relevant industries. Its universal approach means that your market is not streamlined, as any company at all looking to save hiring costs will find this system useful, regardless of their industry and size. So there you have it, 5 powerful AI systems you can sell for $2,000 all the way up to $10,000 right now. As you'd notice in this video, I tried to discuss these systems in such a way that the possibility of building a whole agency combining all 5 becomes clear. I'm really hoping that some of you try these out. But even if you decide to sell just 1 or even 2 of these systems, that's still serious money. It's still a net positive, however you look at it. By the way, if you'd like me to do more of a deep dive into any of these systems and walk you through how to build it, you can drop a comment below. I'll see you guys in the next video.